There was a time when Adam Whitaker believed love could conquer anything. He was a quiet, observant photographer from Portland, content with capturing the fleeting beauty of life through his lens. When he met Emily Caldwell, a spirited woman with a heart full of laughter and a family that seemed warm and close-knit, he thought he had finally found his place in the world. They married quickly, almost recklessly, carried away by the whirlwind of passion and promises. But the dream began to unravel as soon as he stepped into her family's orbit. The Caldwells were nothing like they seemed. Beneath their southern charm and Sunday smiles was a storm of judgment and control. Emily's mother, Lorraine, never tried to hide her disdain for Adam's modest upbringing. Her father, Richard, wielded money and manipulation like weapons. And worst of all, Emily, his Emily, began to change. At first, it was subtle. She started questioning his friends, his work, the way he dressed. Then came the distance, the quiet accusations, the nights spent away with vague explanations. Adam tried to hold on, tried to believe it was just stress or adjustment. But each time he spoke up, he was told he was overreacting, that maybe he was too sensitive, too paranoid. He didn't know it then, but he was being isolated, gaslit, and slowly erased from his own marriage. What began as love became a slow drowning. And as he struggled to keep afloat, Adam was forced to face a terrifying truth. Sometimes, the greatest threat to your happiness isn't a stranger, it's the people you called family. Adam knew something was wrong the night he found the bottle. It was tucked behind the coffee mugs in the kitchen cabinet, an unmarked vial, small and cold like a secret. At first, he thought it was Emily's, maybe a new essential oil or medication. But when he asked, her expression shifted too quickly from confusion to annoyance. "You're imagining things again," she snapped. "Why are you always looking for problems?" That phrase had become her refrain. "You're imagining it. You're too sensitive. You're just tired." And for a long time, Adam believed her. He wanted to believe her. He told himself marriage was hard, that maybe he was overthinking, that he just needed to try harder, love better. But the signs were everywhere, the dizzy spells, the groggy mornings, the nights he couldn't remember going to bed. He began to question his own memory, his own mind. Until one evening, while visiting her parents for dinner, he overheard something that shattered the last piece of denial he'd been holding onto. Lorraine was speaking to Emily in hushed tones by the sink. "Just keep him calm," she whispered. "He's starting to ask too many questions. Don't mess this up." Adam froze. Suddenly, everything made sense. The strange aftertastes in his tea. The way he always felt foggy after eating meals prepared by her family. The panic attacks that had no origin. They weren't trying to help him. They were trying to break him. That night, Adam didn't sleep. He lay awake beside a woman he no longer recognized, in a house that felt more like a trap than a home. Rage and heartbreak twisted in his chest. He wanted answers. He wanted to scream. But more than anything, he wanted to be free. In that quiet, suffocating darkness, Adam made a vow. He would find the truth, even if it meant tearing apart every lie that bound him to the Caldwells. In the days that followed, Adam became a ghost in his own life. He stopped drinking anything he didn't make himself. He quietly stopped taking the vitamin pills Emily handed him each morning. And he began keeping a journal, each page a record of the foggy gaps, the strange conversations, the inconsistencies in what people said and what they did. He started to observe the Caldwells more closely. Lorraine was always watching him, her eyes trailing him like a hawk. Even when she smiled, it never reached her eyes. Her husband, Gerald, remained quiet most of the time, but when he did speak, it was always to undermine Adam, small comments cloaked as concern. "Still having trouble sleeping, son? You really should get that looked at. Or you seem a little off lately. Everything okay at work?" And Emily, God, Emily. Once warm and playful, she had become distant, mechanical. She brushed off his touch, laughed at his concerns, spoke to him like he was fragile glass. Adam began to wonder how much of their love had ever been real. Had she changed, or had he just never seen her clearly? One evening, he tested a theory. He pretended to take the evening tea Lorraine brewed for him. Then he waited. 30 minutes later, his head remained clear. No dizziness. No strange heaviness behind the eyes. But Emily watched him from across the room, her jaw tight, her fingers nervously twisting the hem of her shirt. That was the moment Adam knew for sure. They were drugging him. The betrayal hit him like a wave, cold, suffocating. This wasn't just manipulation. This was control, calculated and ongoing. He was no longer just a victim of toxic in-laws. He was living in a slow, deliberate erasure of his autonomy. That night, while Emily slept, Adam sat in the dark, staring at the glow of his laptop screen. He began researching sedatives, psychological manipulation, and gaslighting. For the first time, he wasn't looking for ways to fix his marriage. He was gathering evidence. Because this wasn't about saving what they had anymore. It was about surviving it. The next few weeks became a quiet war. Adam wore the same vacant expression he knew they expected of him. He nodded when Lorraine reminded him to take his supplements, pretending to swallow while palming the pills under the table. He let Gerald belittle him with his passive-aggressive remarks and responded with a blank smile. Even Emily's distant coldness, once unbearable, became useful, a sign he was playing his role well. But inside, Adam was awake. Alert. He had hidden a small voice recorder in his jacket pocket, capturing every subtle threat, every false reassurance, every whispered suggestion that he was unstable. At night, he typed up transcripts, labeling each audio file meticulously, storing them in encrypted folders on a flash drive taped behind a loose panel in the closet. He visited a therapist under the pretense of addressing stress. In reality, he told her everything, carefully, calmly. She didn't treat him like a paranoid man unraveling. She listened, then looked at him and said, "You're being gaslit. You're not crazy." It was the first time in months someone had spoken to him like he was still real. The turning point came when Adam found a small, white pill lodged in the bottom of a teacup. He photographed it, looked it up. Lorazepam. A benzodiazepine used to sedate and manipulate. That was it. One night, after dinner, as Lorraine offered to make him tea, Adam calmly replied, "No, thank you. I'll make my own tonight." Silence. A flicker of tension passed through the room like a shadow. Emily glanced up from her phone, her mouth opening as if to speak, but she didn't. Adam walked to the kitchen, his back straight, his mind clear. The illusion was broken. He was done pretending. He wasn't just going to escape. He was going to expose them. This wasn't about paranoia anymore. It was about reclaiming the truth, dragging it into the light, no matter how deeply they tried to bury it. Adam had been broken down, drugged, and isolated, but he hadn't disappeared. He was still here. And now, he had a plan. Adam didn't run. He prepared. Over the next several days, he carefully backed up all the recordings and documents, email threads, pill prescriptions, even the therapist's written statement, onto multiple drives. He mailed one to his sister in Vermont, another to an old army buddy in Denver, and kept the third in a safety deposit box under a pseudonym. If anything happened to him, the truth would surface. He waited until Lorraine and Gerald left for a weekend church retreat, something they did twice a year, always smug in their piety. Emily stayed behind, citing exhaustion. That Saturday morning, Adam asked her to meet him in the backyard. She came out in sweats and silence, eyes dull but watching him carefully. "Emily," he began softly, "I know what they've been doing. I know about the pills. The therapy. The lies. I have proof." Her breath caught, but she didn't deny it. Instead, her shoulders slumped as if the weight of years finally cracked her spine. "They told me you were dangerous, that you'd leave me like my dad did my mom," she said. I believed them." Adam stepped closer, not in anger, but in empathy. "I never wanted to leave. But I also can't keep living like I don't exist." He handed her a small flash drive. "What's this?" "Everything," he replied. "You can watch it, delete it, ignore it. Or you can help me make it right." That night, Emily didn't sleep. And the next morning, she quietly packed a bag. Together, they drove to the therapist's office. Then to the police. The days that followed were a blur of statements, interviews, and tension. Gerald and Lorraine were confronted with overwhelming evidence. Their reputations cracked under scrutiny, especially when the drugging came to light. It wasn't vindictive, it was survival. For Adam, speaking the truth out loud was like exhaling after years underwater. He didn't just reclaim his life. He reclaimed himself. And for the first time in a long while, as he watched the sun rise beside Emily on a quiet porch far from that house, he believed in tomorrow again. 3 months after the truth came to light, Adam and Emily moved to a small lakeside town in northern Oregon. Their new home wasn't anything special: 2 bedrooms, creaky wooden floors, a backyard overgrown with weeds, but it was the first place they truly chose for themselves. No pressure. No control. No ghosts from the past. Each morning, Adam got up early to brew coffee, placing a cup by the window for Emily, a new ritual. They no longer avoided the hard conversations. They had learned how to sit down and listen without defensiveness, without blame. Emily started writing again, personal essays, short memoirs, as a way to understand herself after years of living under her parents' shadow. Adam, for the first time since leaving the military, didn't feel like he had to stay on guard every second. He signed up for a photography class at the community center, not for work, but because he liked the way light slipped through the lens, how everything could be seen from a different angle. They went to marriage counseling, not because their relationship was falling apart, but because they wanted to keep it whole. Some sessions were heavy, some brought tears, but they were patient with each other, something they had never really learned to do before. One evening, sitting on the porch watching the sun melt into the lake, Emily turned to him and said, "I'm still scared, but I'm not scared alone anymore." Adam held her hand without saying a word. Because sometimes healing doesn't come through grand gestures, it comes from someone choosing to stay, to keep walking the road with you. And in that peaceful moment, with the wind blowing softly and the last light of the day fading, they knew the past may have wounded them, but only they could write the next chapter. A year after leaving their past behind, Adam and Emily slowly built a life they once thought was out of reach. Each day no longer carried the weight of fear or haunting memories, but instead offered a quiet peace found in the simplest things: cooking dinner together, walking their dog around the lake, or just sitting side by side on the couch in silence, feeling whole. Adam had opened a small photography studio in town, where he captured family portraits, engagements, and everyday moments. The very kinds of images he once dismissed as ordinary now felt sacred. He no longer photographed to escape something, he did it to preserve life, to celebrate it. Emily had published her first book, a memoir titled Things We Unlearned. It received warm reviews, but what touched her the most were the handwritten letters from strangers who said her story helped them begin to heal too. For the first time, her voice, once silenced by guilt and fear, now resonated with purpose. They didn't become a perfect couple. There were still moments of disagreement, and old wounds sometimes resurfaced. But the difference now was clear: they no longer let the pain control them. They had learned to face it, forgive, and move forward, together. One crisp autumn afternoon, standing on the front porch as golden leaves gathered on the steps, Adam turned to Emily and said, "If there's one thing I know for sure, it's this: not everyone gets a second chance. But we dared to take ours." Emily smiled, her hand finding his. In the quiet that followed, they both understood the past may have cracked them, but it was through those cracks that light had finally been able to enter. Life didn't fully return to normal, but Adam and Emily no longer sought perfection. Each day became an opportunity to learn and love again, from the beginning. They didn't forget the past, but instead, they learned to live with it, turning painful memories into motivation for the present. Adam, though no longer feeling like a winner in the battles of his past, found peace in his new work. With each photo he took, he captured not just a moment, but life, joy, and hope. Emily was the same. She was no longer the isolated, closed-off woman filled with doubt. Her book wasn't just a personal work, it became a bridge that helped her reconnect with herself and those who had experienced similar pain. Through the book, she felt a closeness and understanding she never thought she'd receive. On quiet nights, they still sat together, gazing at the sky, listening to the wind rustling through the trees outside. On those nights, they didn't need to speak much. Just being there for each other was enough. It had been a long time since Emily felt afraid when looking into Adam's eyes. She no longer saw the haunting memories, but true warmth and love. Adam knew that life would never be a straight path, but he also realized that with each challenge they faced together, they became stronger. The waves might shake them, but they couldn't defeat the bond they had rebuilt. And each time they looked at each other, they understood that what mattered most wasn't the past that had passed, but how they moved forward, together, from here. The healing journey Adam and Emily embarked on wasn't linear, but it became a journey filled with intention. There were moments when life felt overwhelming, but together, they had learned to face those storms with a renewed understanding of each other. Adam had slowly rediscovered his passion for photography, not just as a way to escape, but as a tool for capturing the beauty in life, something he'd been too consumed by his past to see before. His camera, once a symbol of his war-torn memories, had transformed into a source of hope and connection, helping him reconnect with the world in ways words never could. Emily, too, found her strength in ways she never expected. Her book had become more than just an outlet, it was a testament to her resilience. What started as a personal journey of healing turned into a platform for others who had struggled like her. Her vulnerability in sharing her pain not only freed her but also gave others the courage to speak their truths. In doing so, she realized that healing didn't happen in isolation, it happened through connection. She and Adam, despite their individual battles, had learned to heal by being open with each other and with the world. There were days when the past crept in, uninvited, reminding them of the scars they both carried. But those moments didn't hold the same power over them anymore. Instead of allowing the memories to drag them back into the darkness, they used them as reminders of how far they had come. Each scar, each tear, was a testament to their resilience. As they sat together on the porch one evening, the world around them peaceful, Adam and Emily knew that the road ahead wouldn't always be easy. But they had learned to walk it with love, understanding, and the belief that even through the most painful struggles, they had the strength to rebuild. Their journey wasn't about forgetting the past, it was about finding the courage to build a future with each other. And with each step, they realized that together, they could face anything. Lastly, their story reminds us that no matter how hard life may seem, we can still rebuild and find hope in the simplest things. Adam and Emily not only found themselves again, but they also rediscovered joy in things they had once forgotten. They realized that each step, no matter how small, carries great meaning in creating a brighter future. So, the lesson we can take away is, healing starts with accepting and loving ourselves, and through connecting with others, we can find the strength to overcome any challenge life throws our way.